and welcome to Money and Mouth Productions, a YouTube channel dedicated to personal growth, to character growth, to self-improvement. Let's just jump right into it. Failures. To keep it short and simple, I burnt the hell out. First, I was getting 5 hours of sleep per night, which is not very effective. Yeah, I started waking up at 5:30 a.m. so that I could get to the gym at 7 so that I could work out for an hour and a half. And then immediately after that, I would start work. I'd work until 5. And then Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I would immediately hop over to my other job at the YMCA, and I would work from 5:30 to 9 p.m. And usually I get home at around 9:30 and am usually in bed by like 10, and it usually takes me like 30, potentially an hour to actually fall asleep. So waking up at 5:30 in the morning, I would only really get about 5.5 hours of sleep a night, which is pretty bad. Right, so I was doing this for about a month. So I started this new routine in January, pretty much right at the beginning of January. And I pretty much lasted up until the end of January. And then I got sick. I was just trying to do way too much in the shortest amount of time possible. So I was working 2 jobs, still working 2 jobs. I was trying to do this copywriting course. I was trying to do YouTube. I was trying to do 30 minutes of reading every day. I would work on Saturdays as well, so I pretty much didn't really get a day off. Even my day off, which was Sunday, wasn't really a day off because I would still wake up relatively early. I'd wake up at 8, which is kind of still sleeping in for me. So I'd wake up at 8. I would kind of screw around for a little bit. Then I would head to church. And then I would head to the grocery store immediately after that. And then after that, I would head home to do meal prep. And then that usually takes at least an hour and 30 minutes. And then immediately after that, I would start working on YouTube, which would take another hour, potentially 2-3 hours, depending on what I was doing. Filming usually only takes about an hour. Editing can potentially take up to 2 hours, just because you have to go through a lot of footage and you have to cut a lot of stuff. And my computer's really slow and crappy. Yeah, so it's a bit of a process. And then there's the other maintenance stuff that I have to do, like laundry. And so my lack of sleep and utter exhaustion pretty much affected every aspect of my life. I had some very lofty goals. I wanted to either do YouTube or studying on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And after halfway through January, I pretty much stopped doing both of those. Cognitively, I wasn't able to do it, which would lead to a lot of anger and frustration and just beating the crap out of myself because I was just too tired to do it, but I wanted to do it anyway. And it's kind of difficult to force yourself to do something that when your nervous system is pretty much shot. Yeah, it was pretty miserable. I was really stressed out about really small things, and I was stressed out pretty much for no reason. And because I wasn't getting enough sleep, because I wasn't resting enough, I started making more mistakes. And because I started making more mistakes, that negative feedback loop just kind of started reinforcing itself even more and more and more. So still not getting enough rest, and my cortisol levels were just spiking through the roof. It was pretty much the perfect storm of terribleness, and we have learned from these mistakes. So this whole thing eventually led up to me getting sick in the beginning of February. So I was sick for basically a week. I was sick from February 3rd all the way up until February 11th. Yeah, this was kind of a huge setback because as soon as I got sick, I didn't really do anything. I didn't go shopping. I didn't do any meal prep at all whatsoever. I maybe did 1 or 2 workouts, and they were just calisthenics. I walked around the farm a few times, which is pretty cool. I had a lot of time to sit and think. I also had a lot of time to sleep, which was good, but I also had a lot of time to think. But it was good because I was able to sit and reflect and think about some of the things that I probably needed to really think about and wasn't thinking about because I was just keeping myself way too busy and not resting enough. Or I was just too stressed to even think about it. One of those things was reflection. So I think my priorities were all sorts of screwed up because I wasn't really consciously thinking about them. I had like an idea of some goals that I wanted to accomplish, but I don't really believe that they were coming from the right place. What were my actual priorities? Alright, so based off my actions, what were my priorities? Well, priority number 1 was stimulants, aka caffeine and pre-workout. Priority number 2, being busy. Now, there's a difference between being busy and being productive. Now, that's not to say I wasn't being productive, because I definitely was being productive during this time, but definitely not as productive as I could have been because I was way too tired and stressed out, and I was more concerned with being busy all the time. Ego. I'd say number 3 priority was ego. I had this goal of trying to reach peak aesthetics by August, and I was doing my best to cut as hard as possible during this time. And the only thing I was really concerned about was getting as much hypertrophy as possible, which leads into priority number 4, which is workouts. Yeah, kind of the same deal. It's mostly just ego rather than treating my body properly and letting my body sort of do the work for me. Because if you treat your body right, your body will treat you right and you'll get the results that you want to see. Instead, I had an approach of, I'm going to force you to do this thing that I want you to do and you will comply. My body did not comply. I lost that fight pretty miserably. Yeah, I guess the plan was I don't really need sleep or proper nutrition. All I need is hypertrophy, baby. That's all you need. Boosting ego. That was, I think, the root of it. Trying not to spend money and not succeeding. I was constantly thinking about not spending money, which weirdly enough, I think ended up in me spending more money. Yeah, so essentially, because my priorities were so messed up, everything that I wanted to happen, the opposite thing sort of happened. So I just took this as a learning lesson, and I have reflected, and I have changed things. So here is what I would like for my priorities to be in the future, and I will do my very best to manifest them in reality through action. Priority number 1, health. So what does this comprise of? Mental, physical, and spiritual. All these things are sort of tied together. They're inseparable. They run together. This includes number 1, sleep. Number 2, nutrition. Number 3, exercise. Number 4, and this is a difficult one, really, really difficult one, time management. I know I definitely would like to optimize how I am using the amount of time, the very limited time that I have. So time management, pretty big priority. So yeah, all of that sums up health. That is 1. 2, education. This one's pretty difficult. I've been thinking about the education thing for a long time, and I have not come to any sort of consensus because part of it is there's just too many options out there. Maybe it's just a commitment issue. I'm too afraid to pick one thing and strictly commit to it. I am considering reading books and making what I read actionable as education. I will count that as education until I figure out a more solid plan moving forward, I guess. Work. I want to get better at my job, and part of that right now is sales, which is a very difficult game. Alex Hormozi, I made a video on him a little while ago. Something he talks about is the 4 stages of the shining object, or the girl in the red dress. So he often alludes to the Matrix. So there's a scene in the Matrix where Morpheus is taking Neo through a training simulation. He's explaining some stuff, and they're walking through a giant crowd of people, and this girl in a red dress walks by. Neo takes his attention off of what Morpheus was saying, is staring at the girl, and then gets shot in the head by one of the agents. Stage 1 is uninformed optimism. So basically, you start this new thing, you're like, wow, this is so cool, I'm learning so much, like this new skill that I'm learning has so much potential. Then you enter stage 2, which is informed pessimism, which is basically like, wow, okay, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. I'm learning more about it, and I'm learning more and more that I don't know what I don't know, and there's a lot that I don't know. Stage 3 is the Valley of Despair, which he sort of describes as you have uncovered all of the dead bodies that were previously hidden from view. This is the hardest part. You're absolutely consumed with abysmal dismay, and you feel like you're in a rut. Man, it just sucks. And what he talks about is this is the part where most people give up. You're able to kind of trudge through those first 2 phases, but as soon as you hit the Valley of Despair, that's when most people see that lady in the red dress, get distracted, hop into a new thing, start the process all over again of uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, get right back into that Valley of Despair, see another girl in the red dress, and then hop to that new opportunity. And I kind of like this theory because I have a tendency of following that pattern of hitting that Valley of Despair and then hopping to a new opportunity, going through those stages, hitting that Valley of Despair, then immediately hopping to a new opportunity. So I am currently in the Valley of Despair when it comes to sales. I've definitely been feeling pretty discouraged when it comes to it because I'm realizing all of the dead bodies that are lying in the field. And I guess the dead bodies are the fact that the sales game is just kind of scummy. And most people kind of already know that about sales, but for the longest time I was in the uninformed optimism phase. So I thought it was really cool, and now I'm just like, oh, okay, this is kind of, this feels scummy. But something he says is successful people stick to it. Stick-to-itness is what makes someone successful. So if I grit my teeth and bear it and get through it, I know I'll eventually hit stage 4, which is the goal. And the goal is just being good at sales. Another part of my job is social media, which right now I'm probably in phase 1 of this seems really cool. I feel like I'm doing a lot. I'm like taking pictures and stuff, and I'm like organizing when all the posts are gonna go out. I'm writing all the captions for them, and it seems pretty cool. So right now I am enjoying the social media part of it. We'll see how it goes on down the line, and I don't know, it's already in the vein of what I'm interested in and what I'm trying to do. So it's just an opportunity for me to grow those skills even more. So that's dope. I'm appreciative of this opportunity, and I hope I get to go down that line even further. 4 is YouTube. So I have been talking a lot with my coworker, Isaiah. He also wants to get into content creation, and the more I've been thinking about it, the more and more I realize, like, for whatever reason, it's just something that I'm called to. This is something that I've been thinking about doing since I was in sophomore year of high school. I have made at least like 3 or potentially 4 or 5 different YouTube channels at one point. The point is, I have been thinking about doing this YouTube thing for a very, 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 very long time, and I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't stay consistent with it and try to stick to it and pursue it. And finance/savings. So I actually plan on spending more money on food. Since my number 1 priority is health, I am definitely willing to spend more money on the nutrition front if it is going to help me in the sustainability/energy/recovery/health front. However, once all those other priorities are taken care of, mostly health, once that's taken care of, I will double down on my efforts to save money. All right, let's get into corrections. Sleep. Bedtime is still going to be 10 to 10:30. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. I'm still working at the YMCA Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I do have Tuesdays and Thursdays off, but I'm still going to do my best to try and get as much as I can done in that time. However, the big change, instead of waking up at 5:30, I have reverted back to waking up at 7 a.m. I'm aiming for 7 hours of sleep per night, minimum. Minimum 7 hours of sleep a night. Basically, I'm just trying to prevent burnout. I'm trying to increase recovery and memory and retention, and trying to prevent myself from making mistakes in the future. Reading. So this is something that has remained to be inconsistent for me. Reading on a consistent basis has always been a struggle for me, and it continues to be a struggle for me, but that does not mean I'm going to give up. I have kind of like an hour to a 30-minute window right before I go to bed. Like if I hit lights out at 10:30, I can usually be ready, like winding down at 10. So 10 to 10:30, that could potentially be my window for reading. We'll see how it goes. The difficulties I foresee moving forward is resisting the temptation to use my phone and go on YouTube and go like scroll through the shorts, or just watch YouTube videos, or scrolling on Instagram. It's tough because I know for a fact there's more productive things that I could be doing, because I'm sitting there at night, like at 10 o'clock at night, on my phone, scrolling through and thinking to myself, like, this is boring and dumb, and I could be spending my time differently, but I don't do it. So, from this moment forward, we're going to try to replace the phone time at night with reading time. I'm speaking it into existence now. And you know, something that they say is if you read before bed, and if you get a decent amount of sleep, you're actually more likely to retain what you have read the night before. So, we'll see. The goal with the reading session itself is to read with intentionality. So, the goal would be to take one actionable thing away from what I have read. Take a piece of knowledge that I can actually apply in my everyday life. And the trick is applying that thing that I learned in that reading session. So it's a process, man. We will perfect it as time goes on. That's the whole point of this YouTube channel, is that it's a process and that we perfect it as time goes on. Nutrition. Straight up, I've been lacking on the nutrition front. Yeah, probably the biggest issue on the nutrition front is I'm just not eating enough vegetables, which I believe is probably a common issue with most people, is that we just don't eat enough vegetables, which is understandable because vegetables compared to a nice juicy cheeseburger isn't really a lot of appetizing. Okay, Alex Hermosi's advice is to eat a pound of whatever vegetable a day. I don't know how that's going to work out. I think I'm just going to try to eat as many greens as possible. I know for a fact I need more vitamin C as well, so we're going to invest in a bell pepper a day. So I just plan on cutting them up, putting them in a little glass bin, like yay big, with a little bit of ranch dressing, and that'll be that. Workouts. Since I'm trying to cut, I need to do more cardio. The thing about that is that I hate cardio. So here's what we're gonna do. I love walking. It's good. It's good for me. It's cardio, and it's good for my mental health. I get some fresh air. I get nature. It's just a wonderful experience. I love walking. So what we're gonna do is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are my evenings off, we're just gonna take an hour walk as soon as I get home. I'm not gonna do anything else. And you know what? If you walk for an hour, that's on average, you're gonna burn potentially up to 500 calories, around that. I have the Fitbit here, which kind of like tracks my calories, but who knows what the margin of error is. We're estimating anywhere between 400 to 500 calories per 60-minute walking session. I don't work all day on Saturdays, so I should have an opportunity to take at least an hour walk on Saturday as well. So that's potentially anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 extra calories burned per week, which on paper should help with my cutting process. Weekly planner and habit tracker. Dun 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 dun! Here it is, the weekly planner. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. Pretty nifty. My roommate got one of these. So I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. I want it. I think I can make some pretty decent use out of it. The big thing will probably to incorporate this on Sunday. Trying to plan out my week in advance, really trying to figure out what are the habits that I want to get into. Yeah, just trying to make my week a little more effective. Not just with my free time either, but with work as well. So, yeah, that's on the radar in the future of things I want to implement. So we have a saying that goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So that right there is part of that corrective effort. We try to prepare for tomorrow, today, and we try to prepare for next week, this week. So this is going to be an effort in that vein. YouTube! Moving forward, I'm probably going to be working on YouTube Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So Sundays are probably going to be dedicated to these main Money and Mouth Productions episodes where I'm talking about, you know, my failures, successes, corrections, things like that. Just progress tracking, essentially. And Tuesdays and Thursdays will probably be dedicated to creating these extra side episodes. So this is where I'll be making more of the inspirational characters series and just probably more background of why I started my self-improvement journey and how I was able to be consistent with it, or just like ideas that I want to talk about, like philosophical or like production hacks or like just whatever, just things I want to talk about. Those side episodes will be Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the point. Finance. So I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be spending more money on food because my top priority is health. However, I am doubling down on the effort of actually trying to track spending, save more, and make my spending more efficient. So, what's the solution? Well, the solution is simply just adding an extra column to my Excel spreadsheet spending tracker. The new column is going to be equals difference, and I'll take the total weekly spent column minus total weekly earned. That'll be total weekly saved. Look at this devious little bastard always eating his brother's food. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. If you have watched all the way through this video, thank you. Sincerely, thank you. I go through the statistics or like the YouTube analytics, and like 14% of the people watch all the way through the video, which, you know, when you do the math, that's like 4 people. So to these 4 people watching through all my videos, thank you. Sincerely, thank you. These are long videos, and having spent a lot more time working, like 60 hours a week working, I now more than ever understand the value of free time. And the fact that you are willing to spend 20 minutes, even just like the 10-minute videos, just 10-20 minutes watching my stupid videos where I talk about like my self-improvement journey. Thank you. I hope you get something from these videos. The hope for this channel is that really I just build a foundation, a reference point, so that people can one day look back at all of these Money and Mouth Productions episodes, see where I started and where I end up. I mean, who knows where I'll actually end up, but anyway, the point is, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.